Hi, Peter Charles here of Hooked for Life Fly Fishing, and today we're going to do a tube fly called the black, yellow, and silver. It's a very simple tube fly, and in black, silver, and yellow, these are colors that work for me well in the past, so I think it'll be quite good. As I say, you can knock these together quite quickly, and it should be a really good sort of bait fish type general representation of a bait fish. I'm going to do it on a brass tube today, but you could also do this on plastic. I think probably as a high riding fly on plastic would be quite effective. So I have a 2-inch brass tube in the vise right now. My thread is going to be the usual black 6-knot Vivas. I'm going to be using Uni Mylar size 10 silver Mylar, and I'm going to be using the rib is going to be Uni French silver, and this is a small one. We're going to keep the rib a little bit small this time. The wing is going to be black bucktail. We're going to use some pearlescent crystal flash as an underwing. Going to use some yellow saddle hackle for the throat, and we're going to have some jungle cock for the eyes or the cheeks. So let's get started. Now, when you're putting on bodies on tube flies, it takes a lot of material, so don't be shy with it. So we'll put our Mylar on first. Always put it on top. Next, the rib. Now we'll just work this back. And then come forward. Now, as I explained in other videos, I will use the this sort of herringbone or crisscross pattern to create facets in the Mylar. And when I put the Mylar on, I really squeeze it down so it bites into the thread wraps underneath and creates that glitter appearance. And if you've got gaps, back up, come forward again. Try to avoid gaps. I like to try and pull that a little bit tight when you've got the last couple of wraps in, because when you wrap off Mylar, sometimes it sort of pops up a little bit. I've got a little bit there, but what you can do is you can we're going to be building a bit of a head on this anyway, so come in here and sort of wrap that down as best you can. As soon as you change directions with the Mylar, it wants to bulge up. Okay, now for the rib. And this is fine stuff, so I'm going to put hackle pliers on just to help me keep control of it. So put a wrap at the back, and we just come forward. Bring it back up on top, lock it in place. Now we're going to put in the crystal flash. And this is not a heavy use of crystal flash. I'll show you an alternate way to tie this. One of the things I tend to do is with crystal flash, I'll tie it on in the middle, bend it over. That creates a bump. Not everybody will like that. So I'm going to put the crystal flash back to this spot on the vise. Right about there. Now I'll wrap that in place. Now what I could do at this point is just fold this over. But as I say, that creates a bump. So what you can do if you want to avoid that bump is just trim off. And then wrap in the next batch. So what I've done is I've basically used the tag as my next bit of the wing. So I'll just finish this off. So you can see I've got a tapered head instead of having a bump. So if you're worried about the appearance, that's one way to approach it. Next, I'm going to stack my black bucktail. Bring it back to the length of the crystal flash. Make sure that's good and even on both sides. You find your wing moving when you try to go to cut it. A couple of tight wraps usually helps keep things in place. Sometimes these things want to move on you. Now bind this down. Now, there's a dodgy bit here you have to be careful of. If you get into that gap, you can cut your thread. You can go fill it up with some light wraps if you want, but I'm going to leave it without, and I'm just going to bring my thread back, and we're going to put on the yellow throat. But it's something to think about when you're doing tube flies. If you get very close to the end, you can have problems where it skids in. Your thread skids into the gap where the tubing is, the liner is, and so something to think about where you sort of want to plan the head. I'm keeping this one relatively small. It might be a little bit ragged, but you won't notice by the time we're done. Now I'm going to put on my yellow throat. I'm going light with the throat. And there's very little material. It's about a little over 1/4 of an inch of hackle I've pulled off the stem because I don't want that throat to be too bulky. If it gets too bulky, it could actually cause the fly to flip over when it's being swum through the water. Okay, bring it around, bring your thread to the back. Finally, the jungle cock eyes. Now you'll see some people put these eyes on together. They'll hold them together. I no longer have the manual dexterity for that, so I have to do them one at a time. And I'll just improve the position of that one a little bit. It's a little long. There we go. You've got some choices how you position it. You can position it right alongside, level with the body or parallel with the body, or you can cant them up a little bit. I'm going to just cant these up just a tad. Now I'll trim them off. And finally, whip finish. Okay, now for some UV glue. And now for some top coat. There we go, the black, silver, and yellow. I think it's a rather attractive pattern. Should do quite well. Should fish quite well. The silver and black and yellow I find are an excellent color combination for most salmonids. Trout, doesn't matter. Bass will take this too. So I think it'd be a very effective pattern. It's sparse, it'll penetrate well, and it should sink quite well too. So if you need to get the fly down, a pattern like this is going to get down. So give it a try, the black, silver, and yellow. Cheers.